Greetings everyone, is IT2, and today I have finished reading the Howling Dark Book 2 of the Sun Eater. But before I get into that, I got this book. I won from a Goodreads contest. Sunderworld Volume 1. The Extraordinary Disappointments of Leopold Berry. And it's by Ransom Riggs. He's the guy that wrote Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children series, which I have 3 books of. So this is like not even released yet, and it looks pretty interesting. I might want to read it pretty soon. I don't know. Anyway, The Sun Eater, the first book, Empire of Silence. One of my favorites, I believe. It's one of the best books I ever read, next to like King Killer Chronicles. Howling Dark. Everybody says this one is the. Some people say this one's the best. Some people say the third book is the best. I liked it. I mean, 5 stars. Quality didn't go down at all. The story, just as good as the first book. But just as a matter of personal taste, I think I prefer the first book. Just because it's got that more of a Forrest Gumpiness, where he goes from situation to situation to situation. He's rich, it like explains his origin story, loses all of his money, he's poor, he's in the back streets, then he like has to bring himself up by his bootstraps. He gets thrown into he goes into an arena, gladiator arena, and he becomes like this guy, and then he gets into the situation where he's supposed to marry this woman, and he's like becomes her tutor, and then he like learns about these aliens and all this cool stuff. He meets Valka, and he just keeps like improving his situation, but like stuff keeps happening to him. It's really dope the way the story in this one is. This one is more of a, I guess he does kind of go from situation to situation, but this one's more about like he gets betrayed by his best friend at one point. He gets he kind of has to leave his girlfriend, who this starts out. This book ends with him and Valka like getting together, and then this book starts out, Valka's not even in the picture. He's dating some other girl. It's like several years later. Actually, I read like the novella about his brother in between the 2 books, so I don't know if that's supposed to indicate like some time has passed, because he's like traveling around getting frozen in cryostasis while his brother is just living on his original planet, growing older than he is. Pretty wild. So, yeah, so he starts out with this Janan. He's dating Janan. And then he ends up having to leave her and kind of betraying her. Because, what was it? Like, Basander, Lynn, and Janan, they want to, like, do this other thing instead of trying to, like, go meet these aliens and try to make peace with them. That's another thing that's kind of weird, that is kind of like not great about this book, is like he meets this legendary figure, Karn Sagara, from like the ancient fairy tales. Basically, you got Sid Arthur, which I think is supposed to be like King Arthur, and you've got Simeon the Red, and like these other people. And Karn Sagara, he's like supposed to have lived thousands of years ago, and apparently he was still alive, living on this planet that he runs with these automatons, like robots in this universe are like super sacrilegious and heretical, and the church will come and just kill you if they find out you got them. And this guy has tons of them. He's known as the King with 1,000 Eyes. This is probably why everybody says this is the best book, because it's so epic. And he's got like these children that he's raising, because what he does is whenever he gets too old, even like the Palatine people live to be 1,000 years old, right? So it's not really that crazy. No, he's like lived 3,000 or 4,000 years old. Maybe even longer than that. He was here before, not before civilization itself, but he was around during Earth, I think. I don't know. He's kind of like a Merlin, the wizard kind of a figure. He's wild. He's the guy on the cover, too. Another thing about the covers, before I get into that, the reason I didn't really dig it was because this book is all about going meeting these aliens and making peace with them. And then they get like this close. And then he's starting to realize these aliens you can't be reasoned with. They're not cannibals. They eat humans. So there's like, they don't eat their own race, but it's like they've been marauding these different planets and taking humans and eating them to survive. I don't know why they can't just like give them some cattle or something, or some animal they can grow that's like a non-sentient being that they can eat, or maybe learn about their diet or their biology, or they can give them some other option than eating people. Seems like it would make a lot more sense. So they're this close to getting peace figured out, but they can't really understand like peace, and they can't understand like gift giving, and all of a sudden his friend betrays him, and Ambassador Lin, and they were expecting the fleet to show up, and they started killing all the aliens, but then he has to get in this big battle by himself because the ships are like inside this other giant ship. It gets pretty wild. And then he dies and comes back to life like Jesus. That's why he gets the nickname Hadrian Half Mortal. So, and then he gets like, because he killed the prince of the aliens. He's the only human to ever do that in hand-to-hand combat. They want to knight him, and they want to send him to the solar throne where the emperor is, and make him like a royal Victorian knight, like a really fancy, high-ranking dude, and give him his own spaceship and stuff. Which is, I don't know, it's pretty wild. So that got me thinking about the covers, because the first book, he was in a gladiator arena. There's a gladiator on the cover. You assume this is Hadrian, but you can't see his face. So then this one, I thought maybe this is Hadrian, and this is his face, and maybe he gets a bunch of cybernetic implants and stuff. But no, you find out this is Karn Sagara, because he's got all these cables connected to him. And there's one scene where he checks out Hadrian's sword and he looks at it. So that's definitely Karn Sagara. So what if the covers are the enemies of Hadrian's? So what if this was not Hadrian? This was just a random gladiator, because Hadrian wasn't a gladiator; he was a myrmidon. So I think this is a myrmidon helmet, though I'm not really sure. But this is a high matter sword. So if this was an enemy of Hadrian, and this is an enemy of Hadrian, and Kingdoms of Death is one of the Pale, but you know those are definitely bad guys. So this is an enemy of Hadrian for sure, right? Probably. Oh, I got freaking ads on here. Stupid TikTok. I should install TikTok so I'll stop getting TikTok ads. Skip. Skip. Close. Do I have an option to just skip? I'm making a video right now. I don't have time for this. I'm going to close it. Close everything. Okay. Demon in White. Right? This one. So the next book, he's going to the Emperor. I can't turn this to where the light's gonna reflect off of it. It's a red-headed dude wearing a white robe with a sunburst behind. So you assume this has got to be the Solar Throne, right? So is that the Emperor? Is the Emperor going to be a bad guy? Because this can't be Hadrian, right? Because he doesn't have red hair. He's got black hair for sure. This is either the Emperor or somebody else. So if the Emperor is a bad guy. And what was the other book? I'm pretty sure Valka is on the cover of the 5th book. Right? So maybe Valka is going to betray him. I'm trying to like... Yeah. Huh? Yeah, Valka right here. Because it's kind of Asian looking. She's got a gun and a knife. Valka has a gun and a knife, I'm pretty sure. White armor and red. So that would mean she's part of these... the Legion uniform, I think, is white and red. And then Disquiet Gods. Who's on the cover of Disquiet Gods? Somebody with 2 swords wearing... Yeah, she's got 2 high matter swords. It doesn't look like his sword. Looks like Arabic style swords. So, kind of like a Saudi Arabian looking place. I don't know. My theory is that the covers indicate bad guys. I don't know if I'm true about that or not. Anywho, 5 stars, great book. Look how I matched up my bookmark with my book, same color. Love it. This one was a little bit shorter? Same size? I don't know. I don't have physical copies of the next 3 books, though, so I'm going to have to read them all on my tablet. And The Ship of Destiny, I was going to read on my tablet. And they got this rule at work now that we're not supposed to be on our phones or devices. So I'm like, geez. So I might have to take a different book. I might have to go straight into Pillars of the Earth next. But, yeah. Thinking about this Howling Dark thing, like, there's the aliens, and then the people that the aliens kind of worship are called the Quiet. And when he died, he went into the Howling Dark, just like darkness, but it's howling, or something like that. And the theory was, okay, so let's think about this. Hadrian gets his right arm cut off, and then he gets beheaded, and he feels his head fall off. And he dies, and he's in the darkness, and then he had found this white piece of a shell earlier. He had it on his ship, though. He didn't have it on his person. So when the Quiet speak to him, and they say, we're not done with you yet. And then he goes into the light, and he comes back to life. Now, his right arm is back, and his left arm is gone. He looks in the water, and he sees his left arm, but it's made out of ceramic. What's that about? Like when you get your arm replaced with robotics and stuff, I think maybe sometimes they use ceramic or something. But then, also it was kind of like he duped his weapon, because he had his sword that he brought back from the Howling Dark, and then his sword was still there from where his dead body had just been there, because somebody else picked it up, I think. And he had like 2 copies of his sword, and he had like another copy of Oleron's sword or something. Somehow he had like duped his weapons, and he had an extra life. It's almost like he's in a video game. Also, you could think of it that way. So now people don't know, can he do this over and over again if he keeps that shell, or just without the shell, maybe it has something to do with it. Or is it like the people, the Quiet guys that were supposedly extinct, there's a theory that they exist in the future, and they're meddling with causation, like multiple timelines and multiple realities, and they just put like a Hadrian that made a different choice, and he got his left arm cut off, and they replaced that Hadrian in the world where his right arm was cut off. So I think it's a different Hadrian, or he's in a different reality, but everything was the same except the arm that got cut off was the only thing that was different, something like that. Maybe they were one of those multiple reality butterfly effecty things, you know? So, what was the other difference? He did something where he pulled this ring off of the alien's fingers too. Like, what's that ring about? What's up with that ring? It's like real mysterious. I like it. I love like real mysterious little piddly shit like this where you gotta like think about it. Like, ooh. And I feel bad for Switch too, because Switch betrayed him, and then like he becomes a knight, so they want to visit the Solar Throne, and like everybody's getting like, hey, we're going to the Solar Throne and visit the Emperor, the greatest place in the world. Like, and Switch is like, can I come? And he's like, no, Switch, you're not my friend anymore. Get out of here. Like, where am I supposed to go? He's like, I don't care where you go. Fuck off. And he just abandons him, and he just, oh, I feel sad for Switch, because he only betrayed him because Karn Sagara had taken him prisoner. It had been like 3 months or something. Him and Valka were in this prison with a really bad toilet, and I think they're probably taking shits next to each other, and it's really awkward and cold, and the food was real bad. Switch was like, he called in reinforcements because he was worried about him. He was really like just trying to, he didn't see any other options, and he thought he was going crazy. Like, he just trying to like get his back, I guess. But he ended up getting a lot of people killed, and I don't know. It just kind of sucks for Switch. I feel bad for him. I feel like maybe Switch is going to turn evil now because he got abandoned. He's going to like try to get his revenge, or he's going to come back later in the story and like, what could he do really though? He doesn't have any power. He's not even Palatine. He's not got the special plot armor or anything. And then you got, oh, I didn't talk about Brethren. It's like this this thing under the water in Karnsagara's garden that's made out of like body parts and hands and stuff of people that had come there and sought his help or something, and he killed them and took their bodies and they died or something like that. Or it's like it's one of the Americani, which is like basically the backstory is like America, I guess. They let AI kind of take over and they made robots, and the robots started making better robots, kind of like the Terminator, and like they had to wipe all these robots out because they got too crazy, and they were making weapons that are like unfathomable weapons, one of which is a, what do you call it, a sun devouring weapon that like eats the sun, because the story is called the Sun Eater. You know he's going to get a hold of that thing eventually and eat a sun, probably to wipe out the pale aliens or something. But yeah, like even Karnsagara, I think, said he didn't know what some of the weapons did or something like that. They're like really crazy. Yeah, it just really makes you think. Makes you sit and think. But like, yeah, there's a part where Hadrian killed like 3 guys because they were trying to like sneak the alien onto this other ship and get away from the people that they wanted to go back and join the military and just be on the front lines and just forget about the whole peace treaty. He ended up like fighting his way out. He ended up killing some dudes. But Sander Lynn didn't take that very kindly. He was like, got into a big sword fight with him, but then he finds out, I don't know, he killed this alien. He's like, he starts thinking he's Jesus because he came back to life. So he doesn't care anymore. Then like 2 of the main characters died, like the military people. I'm just throwing out a bunch of as many spoilers as I can now, really. I'm just sitting here thinking, like, oh man, a lot of crazy shit happened. It's like, the beginning didn't really seem like that much happened. It was just kind of like trying to get this alien off the ship and like betraying Janan or whatever. But it picked up towards the end. It got pretty wild. The middle was kind of, I don't know. A lot of time was spent on Forgosos and dealing with Karnsagara. Like, he even got there, and there's like all these Palatines are like there to visit Karnsagara to get some kind of like life extension, or they wanted to get like their brains put into a younger body and live a second life, basically. I think that's what they were there to do. And then, or maybe they were there to like get sex robots or like clones to use for like sexual things or something like that. Or maybe that's where people went to this other planet for. I forgot. But anyway, people would sit there for like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a couple of months, just waiting to talk to the guy. They're like, yeah, it's another life. It's worth it. We'll wait fucking months if we have to. So a lot of it was just him sitting there waiting, talking to these dudes, other Palatine guys. All his friends are like in another room. Like, it's been like 3-4 weeks. When are we gonna hear what's the word? Like, are we still doing this? Or they're just like, were they in there playing foosball? What's going on in there? It's pretty wild though. Pretty wild. I highly recommend you read these books.